Today I've got a story from my first book. When I first saw this Boer Mauser carbine, it's an M1895 Mauser carbine in 7mm caliber. There were 7,000 of these carbines which were ordered by the ZAR, much less than the rifle variant which they ordered many more of. I was intrigued at the name on this butt, which says Lieutenant C. Cairncross OVS Artillery 1899. And I thought to myself, well, here's a Scottish name on a Boer rifle, which seems quite strange. There must be a story here. Well, luckily for me, I managed to make contact with the Cairncross family in South Africa. I contacted a Mr. Ray Cairncross, who was a Second World War veteran, and he, luckily for me, had a very comprehensive family history on the Cairncross family. So Charles Cairncross was born in Swellendam in the Cape. He moved to Cape Town, went to university, and he became a lawyer. At some stage of the game, he fell foul of the law. He left his wife and his young son, who he wasn't to see for many more years, and moved from the Cape Colony up to Paul Kruger's country, which was the ZAR, or the Transvaal. Gold had been found there in 1886, and many Uitlanders, as they were called, poured into the country to seek their fortune. And I guess Cairncross decided to make a new start in a new country. It turned out that he'd actually fought for the Boers. He was accepted by them. He fought for the Boers during one of their campaigns against the Swazi tribe, and he also fought for the Boers during the Jameson raid. So Cairncross helped the Boers to defeat Jameson in 1896. As a result, he was given an official acceptance. There's a letter written by a Veldtcornet saying that he was a good citizen and he should be given full rights. And I've also got the official stemrecht, which means official voting right. He was accepted as being a Boer citizen, or a citizen of the ZAR, and allowed to vote. Now that was no small thing in those days, because Paul Kruger and his government were very wary of mainly English-speaking people and all these Uitlanders, foreigners who were in the land. They were concerned about giving them the franchise. Well, along came the Boer War, and by this time Cairncross, we think, was a reservist. He's not on the payroll for the ZAR artillery, but the family history stated that he had joined the Johannesburg Fort Artillery. That was later assimilated into the ZAR Staats Artillery. As I said, because he wasn't on the payroll, we think he was a reservist. When war broke out, many of the ZAR officers were seconded, and men were seconded to the smaller OVS Artillery Corps. That was about half the size of the ZAR Staats Artillery. We assume that at some stage Cairncross was seconded to the OVS, which is what he's got on his carbine. He also applied in later years for his campaign medal. In fact, it was his son Archibald who applied for his father's medal. And the medal application form is interesting because it says there that Lieutenant Charles Cairncross was in the Johannesburg Fort Artillery. He referred to the officers he served under. One was Commandant Elof, who most Boer War students will recognize straight away, and the other one was von Dalwig. He was a German officer who was in the ZAR Staats Artillery. Cairncross is also in the medal roll as being a lieutenant in the artillery corps, so there's a lot of evidence there to state that he was in fact in the artillery. He fought early in the war at the Battle of Thule, which is on the Rhodesian border with the ZAR. And he also fought at Sand River, which was in May 1900. During that battle in the Sand River, or the Zandrivier, he was captured by colonial forces. We assume that they were probably Australian forces who were there. This carbine was brought back to Australia, we suspect, by one of the men who captured Cairncross, or was there during the battle. Cairncross was sent off to Ceylon as a POW camp, and he remained there until 1903. So there we have it, a lovely little carbine with an interesting story. As a footnote, there were 7 members of the Cairncross family in South Africa who fought for the Boers, and 7 who fought for the British. And that's quite amazing in the way of a family history. Even more intriguing was after the war, Charles Cairncross had one son, Archibald, who he left back in Cape Town many years previously. He hadn't seen his son until the war was over. Around about 1903, 1904, father and son were reconciled again, and they started talking about their war experiences. It turned out that Archibald, who was fighting for the British, was actually at the Battle of Sand River when his father was captured. They didn't see each other on the battlefield, but certainly they were facing each other at some stage of the game. Well, there we have it, an interesting story, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to order one or all of my books, please click on the link below in the description. Thank you.